So the Colby B is all about role alignment.
Okay.
So in our session that we did for you, we did this exercise where I had everybody print their name. And then I had them take the pen or pencil and put it into their opposite hand, their non-dominant hand, and print their name again. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a really physical exercise that helps people to understand what it means to do something that isn't natural to you. And so what the Colby B index does is it helps to identify areas in your job that might be like that. And you answer questions about your perception and experience on your day-to-day work and the tasks that you perform to be successful in your own eyes about your own job. And we're able to look at a person's Colby A and Colby B index and diagnose those areas where maybe it's like they have to do tasks that are writing with their non-dominant hand. Maybe it's a little bit. Maybe it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then we can say, okay, there's some areas here that we can help you with. Because just because somebody's Colby B index doesn't match their job doesn't mean that they shouldn't be there.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
Sure. So, maybe we have somebody like you, Tyson, who is a 5'3", 6'6", and we put you in the role of paralegal case manager.
Okay.
Did you ever have to do that?
Nope.
Never had to pay those dues?
Nope. But,
Okay.
I've done a lot.
I know
in my
firms
firm,
that make their attorneys pay the dues.
but I've not. I've done every job in that firm, but I've
Yeah.
not done it as like a case
All right,
manager.
so if
especially not working for me. So.
Yeah, right. Definitely not, right?
Yeah.
So, but if somebody was wooed by your amazing personality and hired you for that job, and you were crazy enough to apply for it,
Right.
okay, it would be a terrible fit.
I'd be terrible. I'd be
Terrible
awful.
fit.
Yes. Yes.
Because somebody like that has to methodically research and document things.
Yep.
But
Lots
you
of follow
can
up
do
too.
that.
Yeah. Lots of follow through with it too.
Right.
Yeah.
You can do that. But if you have to do that for a long period of time, it will be exhausting and you would burn out eventually.
Completely.
Okay? So knowing that up front, that sets you don't hire that person, you don't apply for that kind of job. Now we see a lot of times in family businesses that this does happen.
Oh,
Okay.
Say more about that.
Because in a family business, you've been raised to take over for a certain person or a certain role in a firm, whether it's a law firm or an accounting firm or a financial services firm or some kind of firm or a plumbing company. Doesn't matter. You've been groomed and trained your whole life. You are expected to do this, whether it fits you or not. And so you have somebody, and they are not the right fit, at least not to do it the same way Dad did. At least not to do it the same way that Uncle John did. But it doesn't mean that you can't approach it in a unique way if you still want to be the one who runs that company.
Are kids? Okay, so I have a silly question. Maybe I'm guessing that these scores are not hereditary, so you can't pass a score on. But are kids more likely to have the scores of their parents, or less likely to have the scores of their parents?
Neither. So it is not genetic. It's not something you inherit.
Okay.
And we did studies to prove that.
Okay.
Just FYI. And the study we did was with identical twins.
Okay.
Because, fun fact, Kathy's husband, Will, is an identical twin. And David Colby has identical twins. And our VP of Technology has identical twins.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Okay. Small company.
That's very
3 sets of
interesting.
twins.
Yeah.
And so there's this gathering every year in Twinsville where all these identical twins and fraternal twins come and have like this big convention.
I bet they've been so studied too, by the way. Like,
And
so
they
much.
are used to being
Yes.
studied. And so we did a study with identical twins and had identical twins take Colby indexes. And sure enough, I don't know the exact percentage, so I don't want to misspeak, but I'm going to guess that it was less than 20% had similar or same MOs.
Amy's dad is an identical twin. So
So it's not something that's genetic, or these identical twins have the same DNA. They did not have the same instinctive MOs.
Well, are there any trends when it comes to kids and their parents, like one way or the other?
No.
All right. are you born with these scores, or is it something that is developed early on?
You are born with them. You don't develop them. They are instincts. So you're born with instincts. All the different kinds. You have the different instincts that people have, fight or flight, all of those, right?
Yeah.
Those are not something that you control. They aren't the same as these. These are striving instincts, or the kinds of instinctive behaviors, problem-solving instincts, and you can observe these with infants and toddlers. And that's why as soon as children are old enough to self-report, we can assess them. Well,
and I know you were using the word instincts, but I didn't know if it was like kind of like implementer, where I was like, well, maybe this is just what they call it. And so you're talking about literal instincts.
Literal instincts. So I'll use me as an example. I'm a 7 in follow through, which means that I am systematic and I always have a plan. And I can look back in some of the papers that I have from when I was in kindergarten, 5, 6 years old, and I had checklists and outlines. Nobody had ever taught me what an outline was.
Interesting.
Nobody had ever taught me any of those things. I think that way. And I always have.
Okay. I know that we talked about how if you take the test, like the error rate's very low. And we talked about transitions. Okay. Is there anything, could there be a serious change in a person's life that could alter their scores permanently?
We don't think so. We have seen that when there is a serious change in somebody's life, understanding their MO is the key to helping them. So let's talk about Kathy Colby. Her first book, Cognitive Connection, was written right after she had a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
So she had developed the Colby theory, and she had started writing the book and started working on it. She was appearing on CNN. She was working with the heavy hitters. She was traveling internationally, speaking at. She was one of the first females to ever speak at MDRT. I mean, and that's quite a story all by itself that I'm not going to tell. But she was a real go-getter, and this is in the 70s and 80s. So, and she was hit by a drunk driver. And she had a very traumatic injury. Her pelvis was broken, and she was in the hospital, and she had to relearn to speak and to walk.
Wow, I didn't know this.
And she, she had like a genius IQ. All right? But she wasn't able to function, but she knew what her instincts were. And she used her instinctive strengths to overcome that and to do everything that she's done. There's a whole documentary about it. You should check it out. It's called The Last Part of the Mind. It's on YouTube. And it's fascinating to see how she overcame that and wrote several other books and ran Colby Corp for another 25, 30 years.
Wow. Okay. What was the name of that YouTube, the video again?
It's a documentary. It's called The Last Part of the Mind.
The Last Part of the Mind. Okay.